This is my big-wheeled Yamaha Jog. It has a complete driveline from a Prebug Zuma. Prebug Zuma engine and rear wheel, Prebug Zuma disc brake front end.
Alright, before we go any further with this build, we gotta see what's in the box. New parts, more parts, bad financial decisions, every piece gets us closer. This thing's about to be insane. Time to get building.
So the next big thing that we've got to tackle on this bike is the wiring. The wiring obviously forms a major part of the swap. So before we can think about putting this in, we've got to pull the body panels off, lay out the wiring and ensure it's all going to go in where it should.
I've gone and got myself an early drum brake Prebug wiring harness. The reasoning for this is with a Prebug motor, it made sense to use a Prebug wiring harness. Let me know if I could have plug and played the Prebug stator to the jog harness, as that definitely would have been easier. I have run the Prebug harness pretty much the same way the jog harness went. I've had to separate the different parts of the harness so I could run the starter relay to the right side of the frame, and I've extended the taillights just a little bit.
Wiring is going pretty good. It's all in place. We've pulled apart the harness, rerouted it around the frame, we've extended the tail lights, and now we're at the ignition. Wiring for the ignition. So we've got Prebug Zuma for the harness, but I'm trying to retain the jog ignition barrel, and in between I've got a bit of a patch harness going on just to confirm everything is working. The good news is I've got all the power going to the right places in the dash. But what about the starter motor? So here is the wire for the starter. We've got the test light in. If we pull the brake lever and push the button, there you go. Boom. All right, so the next biggest problem I've got is because now we've gone to a disc brake front end. Disc brakes are usually hydraulic, and now we've got to fit a master cylinder up on the handlebars. So this is the brake reservoir that I've used. It's pretty slim. It's the slimmest that I can find. It's up on the handlebars, but being here now presents a couple of other issues. But the really difficult thing now is all this has to fit under this, the headset. And of course, you know it. It's close, but it's nowhere near close enough. So we're going to have to do a bit of cutting to get it up underneath.
For now, I'm going to park the headset and turn my attention to the disc brake front end, more importantly, the front wheel.
So you might remember the front wheel was not centered within the forks. It was more over that side of the bike than it was this side of the bike. So I had to bring it more this way. Now this is the original front wheel spacer. In my hand here, I have a bunch of other spacers, same external diameter, same internal diameter, but different lengths. Now the plan is, I need to shorten this guy by roughly 3 to 4 mils. And here we have it here. We've got the perfect spacer, I hope, that will get the job done. All right, finally we have the front wheel looking like something. The alignment is so much better now. It's now around about 1 to 1.5 millimeters too far that way, but I can't bring it any closer this way because the little bolts that hold the brake disc on, they're getting really close to the strut, and any closer than that, I'm afraid it could spell disaster. Moving on to alignment, it's important now to check that the front and rear wheel are aligned together and they are aligned with the frame. All right, so the good news is it is straight. Everything is lining up perfectly. We've got the laser going down the bike, through the center of the rear tire, up through the center of the taillight, through the center of the fuel tank, through the center of the frame, and then right into the center of the headset bolts. So that means it's lining up here, also here, right through there, and then up with this bolt here. And this is what the front wheel looks like. Laser running up the center of the tire, through the center of the frame, the horn, the bolts, the plastic, and also the handlebars. With everything being true and straight, it is now time to turn our attention to the little two-stroke motor. Let's pull it out, let's get it up on the bench, and let's hook in. Oops. We've built more than one engine here on Scooter Bomb, and I'm not going to take you through the full build process, but what I will show off is some of the juicy components that are going into it. We've got the Stage 6 70cc Mark II Pro cylinder kit, Stage 6 HPC crank, we've got the Stage 6 oversized intake, Stage 6 variator, Stage 6 clutch, we've got a Polini CP21 carb, we've got new bearings, we've got clutches, we've got the works. I can't wait, this thing's gonna be awesome. Let's get into it.
Alright guys, this motor was previously painted some shade of gross. I really hate painted motors as it looks good initially, but it never really lasts. Inevitably, it will always look terrible. Nothing a good covering of paint stripper won't fix, however. This will come up $1 million. Seriously, don't paint your cases. Two-stroke motors get dirty really fast. There honestly is no point.
All right, we've got the case looking like brand new again. It is looking absolutely awesome. It's ready for reassembly, but before we do that, we've got to talk about this.
This is the Stage 6 Mark II Pro 70cc. It's the only two-ring Nickel-coated alloy cylinder I know of. It has 6 ports and designed to live at high RPM. It has to be the best two-ring cylinder out there. I'm keen to hear what you guys think. What's your favorite Prebug cylinder? Moving on now to port matching. The gasket is a perfect match to the Stage 6 cylinder. Here, I'm marking the case so we can blend the ports from the case to the cylinder. You have to be careful with these vertical minerales, as the case is really thin around these areas. Some guys cut through and rebuild it with JB Weld, or if you've got an aluminium welder, you can weld up the holes. I just smooth out the transitions to make it flow from one side to the other. From here, it's gently grind away the areas of the case, being careful not to grind through to the other side. Once it's looking nice, I finish it up with a fine abrasive wheel. And this is the result once it's all grinded and smoothed out. Now it's time to join the cases together. I heat the cases to 100 degrees Celsius and then freeze the bearings with this freeze spray. Once set, they drop right in. Now rinse and repeat for the other side. Moving on to the crankshaft. For this one, I oil it up using some two-stroke oil before I freeze it with the same freeze spray. I did forget to record it. I give the bearing a very light heat before dropping the crankshaft in, and then I like to pull the crankshaft with the crank pulling tool. From here, I use Honda Bond on the flange to form the seal between the two cases. Once again, I oil the crank, lightly heat the bearing, and then slot it in. And then, once it's all finished, you've got to give that crank a nice spin for the camera. One thing left to do is drop in the M6 bolts. Give them a light tighten before finishing them off with a torque wrench. Oh yeah, time for one more spin.
Where we are right now, we've got two sides of the cases put back together. Sandwiched inside, we have the Stage 6 HPC crank. This sucker is ready to rev. But sadly, this is where it's going to have to end. I've run into a problem. I've got the wrong cylinder studs. They're the wrong size. These are M7. We're meant to have M6. So we're going to have to leave the engine like this, and unfortunately, the bike like this. In the meantime, we've just reached 2,000 subscribers here on Scooter Bomb. If you are enjoying the channel, if you like what I do, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you next time I pick up this Yamaha Jog build. Next time, it's all back in the frame.